tonight, so please keep doing it each and every week. We'll try to give one away. And here's Damari, and he runs into a tackler, and he stays on his feet. Damari Robinson's going to go. Touchdown, Trojans. Never left his feet, kept on churning. And Damari goes for 6, and the Trojans add to the lead.
Live from our Seton Hill University studios, this is Westmoreland on the Gridiron on the Westmoreland Sports Network. Here's your host, Sean Meyers.
We welcome you into another edition of Westmoreland on the Gridiron here on the Westmoreland Sports Network, the best high school football talk across Westmoreland County each and every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Sean Meyers, Dan Flickinger. A big show to get to. We will run down all of the scores and the top performers from week 4 of the high school football season. We'll have a jam-packed Plays of the Week segment, 6 different entries for that. A couple of Franklin Regional Panthers interviews, their head coach Lance Getsy and their quarterback Chase Lemke, who was voted our player of the week. We'll look ahead to the week 5 ledger of games as well, including all conference matchups across the county. But let's talk about some of the biggest stories from this past week. And Flick, a game that you and I both were in attendance for. Penn Trafford gets a much-needed win. They are now 1-0 in conference play after a really tough start to the non-conference. More impressively, they get their first points of the season at home. They had been shut out in the first 2 home games. Well, they did certainly change that in a big way, putting up 41 in a 41-18 victory over Hempfield area. And the big story, a record-setting performance from their running back, Tasso Whipple, 300 yards, breaking the single-game mark. They needed all of it because really, I think that is the recipe for them to get back into winning football, is him running the football, although there's still certainly some warts that they need to take care of.
Yeah, the passing game, still work in progress. Obviously, we saw pick 6. Hempfield takes it the other way for a touchdown, which was, at that time, a big play in the game. So John Ruane, shut it down. Let's keep the ball on the ground, and Tasso came through in a massive way. By the way, we mentioned on the show last week, we were wondering if the lights flashed off and on at Warrior Stadium. We hadn't seen a touchdown yet like they do at Hempfield after they score. They don't, but the bell was still ringing. So PT was very happy about that. Give a shout out to Manny Simpson. Tasso broke his record. Manny was a junior, actually, when we started our first ever Penn Trafford football broadcast way back in 2010. I think they played Peters Township in the opening game. That was John Ruane's first game, and Manny was a junior, and what a terrific football player he was. But going back to Tasso, Sean, it really is impressive considering the fact that Penn Trafford has a lot of trouble throwing the football. I'm sure Nick Kiefer knew that. Opposing coaches know that. So they're going to sell out to stop the run. And at least last Friday, they weren't able to do it because of the way that he ran and because of the way offensive line blocked. You think back to a couple of years ago when Penn Trafford won its state title, some similarities there. Obviously no one can compare to Cade Yacomelli, but you had Cade doing what he was doing and Carter Green doing what he was doing. And really, when you think back to that season, it was amazing they had that much success on offense, considering really only those two touched the football. It's a credit to them and the offensive line from that year. I think, obviously, as we've been talking about a lot, John Ruane's talking about endlessly, and Sean, you guys were talking about it on the broadcast, just the penalties. Heck, Tasso could have had 500 yards if it wasn't for some of the penalties that called some of the bigger plays back. That continues to haunt Penn Trafford. I'm sure John Ruane is just blue in the face in practice talking about those. If PT can stay out of its own way, I think they can compete with anyone. But again, those penalties really have plagued Penn Trafford this season. But a win is a win. They're 1-0 in conference play. And if you're Hempfield, they certainly hung around in the game. They performed pretty well. I'm sure Coach Kiefer is happy with their effort.
Yeah, and Hempfield area, to be honest, I think is further along than I anticipated, especially knowing that they graduated just about every key contributor from last year's team. Very inexperienced, very young team. They've hung around. They haven't gotten, the doors blown off against some of the better teams. But to be honest, Tasso Whipple running for 300 yards against Hempfield area, and he went for over 200 against a pretty good Woodland Hills team as well. I just don't know if that's going to work against teams like Gateway and Franklin Regional, 2 really good teams. So will they be able to have offensive success with basically just handing off to Whipple and then having Grabowski kind of run the Wildcat at quarterback? We'll see. Certainly it worked this week in a much-needed win for Penn Trafford. And the good news is those losses now are certainly in the rearview mirror because they all were non-conference. All that matters is 1-0 for PT. in the 5A Big East.
Well, and Sean, I just want to add one thing to your point. When you look back at the state championship team, they did run the ball the majority of the time, but Carter Green was able to throw it when he needed to. He did make some big plays through the air. Some of them went to Cade Yakimelli, but that's what Penn Trafford's going to need to do if they want to beat a Gateway. They're going to need something through the passing game, for whether they're picking up a first down or whether it's a big play, to get the offense going or a long touchdown pass. They're going to need those types of things in against a Gateway, a Franklin Regional, or, in the playoffs.
Yeah, and the other thing is the defense has been really, really good this year, but I don't think that they've been doing a great job of forcing turnovers. Just looking at some of the stats, not a lot of sacks, not a lot of forced fumbles, not a lot of interceptions. I know Metcalf had a really good one going against Quentin Martin a couple weeks ago, but I think if they can create maybe some points with their defense, giving really short fields to the offense, that could go a long way. And of course, special teams, something that John Ruane's teams always do well. They don't have a Nate Schlesinger, but I think that they got some guys who maybe can create in special teams as well. Well, the Leopards have a guy that can create in special teams in Quentin Martin, but he was held in check, and the longest winning streak in the WPIAL came to an end as Bell Vernon area lost a big-time showdown against Thomas Jefferson. A great game, 24-19 in favor of the Jaguars, so they knock off the Leopards. Does not count towards the playoff standings, as we mentioned. It is non-conference, but that's a tough way for the Leopards, who had a first-half lead. Just really were kind of stifled offensively in the second half and couldn't get the big stops when they needed to against the Jaguars.
Yeah, I think the turning point of the game and the key point in the game came in that fourth quarter. You mentioned, a first half lead. Well, Bell Vernon led by 9, in the fourth quarter. And offensively, you mentioned TJ coming up with some big defensive stands. Offensively, Bell Vernon could not put the game away. Tanner Moody has a huge interception early in the fourth quarter. Next play, Braden Locks goes for 10 or 11 yards, and Bell Vernon has the football at the Thomas Jefferson 29. They're up by 9 points. But on the play after that, Locks tries to go deep. It's intercepted by Jason Solomon, who had a massive game for Thomas Jefferson. If they score on that drive or on that play, I think Matt Humber was kind of going for the jugular there. They probably win the game. Weren't able to do it. They get the ball back again. After their defense does hold, and Bell Vernon has a 2nd down and 6, and it turns into a 3rd down and 20 on the next play because of a unsportsmanlike call on Aiden Johnson after the 2nd down and 6 play. So it probably would have been 3rd down and 5. Instead, it goes to 3rd down and 20. Bell Vernon has to punt there. TJ comes back, scores a touchdown. Bell Vernon then forced to punt on the next drive as well. So that's 3 offensive drives that they could not come up with any points. If they score points on any of those drives, they probably win. But as many people know, on that after that final offensive drive for Bell Vernon, they had a pass go through one of the hands of I think it was Jedico. Could not haul it in, and then Thomas Jefferson won the game. But obviously, another big play in the game, Sean, was the punt bobbled snap by Schwera. It was a perfect snap right to him. He just bobbled it. And Thomas Jefferson got great field position. That's how they got their go-ahead touchdown. So a lot of mistakes there in the fourth quarter, I think, for Bell Vernon. The offense just could not put the game away. But Jake Jedico's injury early in the game certainly hurt the Leopards. Hopefully it's nothing serious. But at the end of the day, Sean, it really was a great game. We're looking at it from a Bell Vernon lens here. But they had some guys really step up and play some great football. Thomas Jefferson the same way. So we knew going into the game it was going to be tight. We knew it was going to be a well-played game. There were penalties on both sides, certainly, but that's what Western Pennsylvania football is all about, the way that it kind of broke down. I just want to add this, too. I saw Bill Chirpak, Thomas Jefferson head coach, said after the game, on Bell Vernon's final drive, he said, "Don't think I wasn't thinking about Devin Whitlock scoring the game-winning touchdown a couple of years ago like he did." So I thought that was telling. Both of these coaches just know each other, know each other's programs so well. And again, just a great football game.
Yeah, it was a chess match between the coaches, and Quentin Martin was covering Sean Sullivan, who's such a great receiver for TJ. He kind of took him by and large out of the equation. But on the other side, Martin really didn't get untracked offensively, with the exception of a touchdown reception he had right before the half. Running the football did not put up a lot of yardage. Jedico was out, so it's a guy like Cole Doppelhauer who has a breakthrough performance. But I think there is a slight benefit for the Leopards. Sure, you would love to go undefeated, and certainly they want to knock off their rival Thomas Jefferson, even though they're not conference foes anymore. They get geared up for that game. But now you see we're not infallible. We need to get a little bit better in these certain areas. Here's the evidence of that. So I think it'll make them better in the long run, which their main goal is not to go undefeated, but to win championships. And I think ultimately a game like that will help them take strides in pursuit of that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was a non-conference game. And again, they should have no problem going through their conference. And to be honest with you, we have to be serious about it. There are going to be a number of those conference games, if not all of them, where their starters are going to be out of the game early. And that keeps you healthy. I've talked to John Ruane about that every year. Not so much, the last two, but typically, Penn Trafford gets up on teams, they get their starters out of the game, and that does keep you fresh, for the year. So Bell Vernon's still in a great spot. They have lost nothing in terms of, playoff seeding, or to me, they haven't anything like that. I think they'll certainly be okay. By the way, for some silly reason, I said Jedico late in the game. He was out of the game early. I don't know why I said the pass went through his hands. I don't know if it was Colton Lee. I can't remember what player it was, but obviously Bell Vernon had a chance there at the end of the game, and it just didn't work out for him.
Well, it did work out for Derry area as the Trojans. What a turnaround season this is becoming. They had the longest losing streak among WPIAL teams. Now they put together a winning streak. They are 2-0 in the conference, and they really got it done on the ground as they had a big performance in a 35-21 win on the road against Apollo Ridge. That's usually a pretty good Vikings program. And so that's, I think, an impressive win for Derry area. Now 3-2. And Ahmad Ward, again, we've known that all season long he's been able to get it done, but he wasn't alone. Damari Robinson got involved a little bit more in the running game. I know the passing attack hasn't been particularly potent for Derry area, so I think they're trying to find other ways to get the ball in his hands, and he delivered as well. That's, I think, a really nice win for them, and they're really well situated now in terms of the playoffs.
Yeah, 2-0 in the conference, two games that when you have a chance to win them, you certainly want to get those W's. Obviously, they're going to be going up against better opponents down the line. So I think those are two huge wins for Derry, and you have someone else stepping up. Look, the success of this team is so tied to Ahmad Ward, not only doing what he's doing on the field, but staying healthy, right? So to have someone else step up, and Damari Robinson, who has done some things out of the backfield, split out wide and on defense. I mean, he's had a good year, don't get me wrong, but the fact you can give him the ball, more than just once or twice a game like they did against Apollo Ridge, I think that's massive. You go back to those good Derry teams a few years back, they had multiple weapons out of the backfield. You didn't necessarily know who was getting the ball. Flack was the leader, but there were other guys too that were, touching the football. It's been all Ahmad Ward pretty much this year, with a couple of other guys getting some touches here and there, but it's good to find Damari that kind of count on him that he can kind of take some of the load off of Ahmad a little bit. But yeah, an impressive win over Apollo Ridge, and now Derry goes up against a Sarah Catholic team that's winless on the season. So I think the Trojans right now are focused on going 3-0 in the conference if they can.
Yeah, just looking at the standings in the 2A Allegheny, I think Steel Valley's clearly the team to beat. Amani Christian's really good as well, and they hung with Steel Valley. And then I think Derry area might have a legitimate chance to be the next in line. Obviously, Burrell's off to a good start in the conference as well. Ligonier Valley has a good track record, but I think that they're down quite a bit. And then with the victories that the Trojans already have against Apollo Ridge and York, and then Sarah Catholic having I'm not writing off the Eagles. They still have some firepower.
Yeah.
But maybe you want to catch them at the right time, and it could be now for Derry area. I do think that if they make the playoffs, that would be a major step forward. And your brother's very close to the program, and obviously Derry area as a whole. Do you get the sense that the entire vibe around the atmosphere in that locker room has changed quite a bit?
Yeah, I think so. I think the vibe, just like even in the press box with a lot of the Derry folks, whether they be running the clock, doing PA. I mean, they've been there forever. They've seen some really poor teams like the last few years. They saw the great teams like the one that went to Heinz Field. So I think that I think the vibe in the locker room, just everywhere in the stadium, honestly, is a lot different, than what it was. So, and once you get that thing going, I think that's so important. I mean, people say intangibles, that's not that big of a deal, but I don't know. You get that good mojo going, as they say, and I think everybody can kind of feed off of it.
And certainly, again, it's just great to see them winning football games after they had gone through such a long drought. Finally, it looks like
at least it makes for some interesting matchups, Sean. Like you mentioned, the Ligonier game, last game of the year, could be massive. The game against Burrell could be massive. So those games should be fun.
Absolutely. Well, it was fun in the fourth quarter on Friday for Mount Pleasant area. What a comeback for the Vikings. Now, this is a non-conference victory against Freeport, but I think it is a significant one. Those are two teams that made the playoffs a year ago in 3A, and the Yellow Jackets have had a pretty good program recently. So that victory for Mount Pleasant was an impressive one, 45-23. They were down 2 scores in the third quarter, came roaring back. The Hutter brothers were the big components of that. Jackson, who I know Jason Vizikis thought he had a sky-high potential this season on both sides of the football. He came through in a big way. They've been impressive. They lost week 0 against Greensburg Central Catholic. Now 4 straight wins. They're not blowing teams out, but by the same token, I think that they really are a team that can make some noise in 3A. And we mentioned, can anyone challenge Bell Vernon area? I don't think Mount Pleasant necessarily can, but I think that they can challenge for a number 2 spot and certainly for a good seed heading into the postseason if they keep this up once the conference play begins.
Yeah, I mean, now we're looking ahead. They're not allowed to, but, Mount Pleasant, Southmoreland way down the road, that may be absolutely massive. But, yeah, great to see Jackson Hutter, Brody Hutter do what they do. Just a tremendous game for both of them. And one of the plays that stick out to me, Sean, obviously Mount Pleasant is a running team. They've always been, whether it be Bo Ruffner there, even when he was there, obviously they ran the football. Now Jason Vizikis, but Cole Chatfield had a big third down pass to Jackson Hutter, of all people, a 35-yard gain on a 3rd down and 5. The Vikings had the ball at their own 23, and they were only up by 1 at that point. And I think that was a massive play in the game because, again, they don't throw the football too often. But just like we were mentioning, Carter Green for Penn Trafford put it up when he needed to. Sometimes you need to throw the football and make plays through the air, and Cole Chatfield did that. So I thought that was a big play in the game. Maybe we'd be talking about a different outcome. But obviously the bread and butter for Mount Pleasant is running the ball. They were able to do that consistently, but also got that big pass play. And then Brady Poole also got in on the action with a 32-yard run to put the game away.
Yeah, and I've been impressed by the passing connection between Chatfield and Luke Nicotera. He's been very, very impressive this season. And again, they're a little bit more dynamic and balanced offensively, even though we do see that they can have, 15, 20-minute spurts where they just take the game over on the ground. I think that you could see that equally through the air as well. And when I saw them firsthand against York, it was mostly the passing game that was getting it done in that night. So I think that does maybe give you hope that they can take it a step further. And so, we'll see. But the good news is they lost that game against Freeport last year. I think they lost by about 18 points or so. For them to turn around and win this one by basically, 20 plus points shows that they're probably a little bit ahead of last year. Maybe Freeport's taking a step back as well, but certainly bodes well for Jason Vizikis' squad. Now 4 straight wins, and they'll have a heck of a lot of momentum heading into interstate conference play. That'll do it for our big takeaways from week 4. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will run down the rest of the scores across Westmoreland County. We'll look at the top performers as well. And a little bit later, we'll have plays of the week and our Franklin Regional interviews, head coach Lance Getsy and their quarterback Chase Lemke, as well as a look ahead. That's as we continue right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
Excella Health and Butler Health System are now Independence Health System. Expert care here.
Get to Mike Camlin Hyundai for huge summer savings. Save big with 0% financing on new Hyundai Tucsons and Santa Fe's. Or receive up to $7,500 in special lease bonus cash. All vehicles are backed by the Mike Camlin Advantage oil changes for life.
Hi, Westmoreland sports fans. This is Al Gallardo, financial advisor with Lincoln Investment and longtime Westmoreland County resident. Whether it's a traditional or Roth IRA, 403B or 457 plan, mutual funds, ETFs, stocks, or bonds, I can help you navigate the markets and assist you in achieving all of your goals. Call me at 724-309-8337 or email me at agallardo@lincolninvestment.com and we'll get started together. Good luck to all of the area's athletes and coaches this season.
We roll along here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron. Sean Meyers, Dan Flickinger on the Westmoreland Sports Network. You know when to tune in, 7 o'clock Wednesday night. You know where, right here on the Westmoreland Sports Network. Let's look at the rest of the scores from Week 4 across Westmoreland County. We already talked about some of these, but you can go back and watch or listen to several of these broadcasts, including Penn Trafford's 41-18 win over Hempfield area. You can also check out that thriller between Bell Vernon and Thomas Jefferson that went 24-19 in favor of the Jaguars, or Derry area's 35-21 victory at Owens Field against Apollo Ridge. You can also go back and watch an impressive performance by the Jeannette Jayhawks, 35-7. Jeannette now 4-1 on the campaign. Yeah, Charleroi not having a great season, but looks like Jeannette has certainly found some life offensively. And Peyton Moulter, who we talked to last week, had another big performance for the Jayhawks.
And I think, also, Sean, just to add a quick point to that,
yep.
You know, that the competition the last 2 weeks for Jeannette, Fraser, and Charleroi hasn't been great, no, but they've also taken care of business, right? 2 blowout wins, that's what you want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do give Coach Malone a lot of credit because we didn't know where this program was going to go, but they're not back to full Jeannette powers, and I know that there was an article written saying, is Jeannette back? We'll wait and see how they fare against Leechburg, who I think is at least a fairly quality team. And then certainly the big ones are Greensburg, Central Catholic, and Clareton. I don't know if they're ready to knock off those teams yet, but we'll learn a lot more about how good they are when they play against teams like that. But all you can do now is play the teams you're against. They are 4-1. Their only loss was in overtime against East Allegheny. So they are very, very close.
Could very easily be 5-0.
Yeah, very easily. A team that's not 5-0, but is coming off of a big win, the Franklin Regional Panthers, and we're going to talk to their coach and their quarterback. But, man, what a showing against a previously undefeated Shaler area team. A blowout, 55-7, as the Panthers have a big bounce-back performance after that loss against Gateway. Again, we'll talk to Lance Getsy and Chase Lemke more about that victory. Greater Latrobe gets a shutout over Laurel Highlands. 37-0 big win for the Wildcats. John Wetzel, another great performance both offensively and defensively. By the way, I don't know if you saw this, Flick. Alex Tasher's at the whiteout for Penn State. I know he's already got an offer from WVU. We'll see. Maybe Penn State is interested in him as well. Obviously, they have some interest to have him up there for the whiteout.
I can't even imagine how many recruits are at the whiteout. I mean, name one event that is a better recruiting tool for Penn State football than going to a whiteout.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, a lot of times it will be high school sophomores who go, and when they commit 2 years down the road, they reference that experience as, so you're always, kind of planting the seeds if you're a college team, whether it's Penn State or anyone. You want to get in on these kids sooner rather than later, certainly. And Tash now as a junior, he's getting a heck of a lot of attention, rightfully so. North Catholic, well, speaking about Penn State, North Catholic led by their newest Penn State commit, Brady O'Hara, the tight end, knocked off Kiski area 28-7. Cavaliers now 1-4 on the campaign. Burrell wins a battle of Westmoreland County as they knock off the Yacht Cougars 28-12. No passes completed, none needed for the Buccaneers. They continue to do what they do very, very well. Steel Valley shuts out Ligonier Valley 35-0 as the Ironmen continue to roll. Woodland Hills over Norwin 30-23. Some controversy in this one, Flick, I know is all over social media. Almost another spectacular comeback for the second time in as many weeks for the Knights. They come up just shy, but if you ask some of their fans and players, they'll say, we didn't come up shy. It should have been a tie game and maybe a different outcome.
Yeah, there was definitely some controversy, however you want to pronounce it, Sean, at the end of that game. Luke Denny on a run, runs and looks like he may have crossed the plane of the end zone, broke the plane. There was a video circulating on social media that appeared that He did. And again, as soon as the tip of the football hits the white line, it's a touchdown. The play's dead. But instead, the officials ruled that Luke fumbled the ball. Norwin gives the ball back to Woodland Hills, and they just run out the clock. Almost another tremendous comeback victory. And I'm sure if you asked Mike Brown, he said, well, hey, we got to start being on the other side of this. Like, we want to have the lead late instead of having to come back all the time. But again, a really gutsy effort by Norwin at the end. It turns out a non-conference game, certainly a tough loss, but one that, I think the coaches can be proud of their effort, but certainly a very questionable, we'll leave it at that. You can search it on social media if you don't know what we're talking about.
Westmoreland Sports Network, I believe, retweeted that.
Did they? Okay. Yeah, our social media team confirms. That's the case, right, guys? Yep. Okay, they retweeted it.
So a tough one for the Knights as they come up shy. Scoop Smith, by the way, continues to make big plays
Scoop Smith
for Woody High. We talked about Mount Pleasant area, 45, Freeport 23. The Vikings now 4-1, winners of 4 straight on this season. On the other side, just across from Mount Pleasant, Southmoreland tastes defeat 24-7 against Deer Lakes. The Scotties now 3-2. The Lancers move to 4-1. It was a blowout in favor of East Allegheny, 42-0, knocking off Greensburg-Salem. We heard maybe some injuries at the quarterback position for the Golden Lions. Hope that does not linger much further into the season. Obviously, they're already trying to overcome some major graduations from last year and a difficult first year for Coach Ty George. Greensburg Central Catholic, no problem scoring for the Centurions. They put up a 60 spot on Springdale, 60-14 GCC. Now gearing up for their conference opener. It'll be a big one against the Bears as they improve to 3-2 overall. The Valley Vikings 38, the Uniontown area Red Raiders 6, and California area knocks off Monessen 51-20. And in the college slate on Saturday, Seton Hill hung around but ultimately could not get over the hump as they fall to nationally ranked Slippery Rock, the Rock winning 35-14. You can go back and watch that one. Let's now look at the top performers from week 4. And before we start this, Flick, you and I go back and forth. And one thing that we should note is we get stats sometimes sent by coaches or team representatives.
Yeah.
Other times we're looking at various publications, newspapers in the area. And while everyone tries to get the stats accurate, you will see some discrepancies. So, for instance, if you look at the Greater Latrobe stats this past week, Jaton Williams had 113 yards receiving. If you look at some of the newspapers, he had like 90 yards receiving. So we try to get the most accurate as possible. If teams send us stats, we usually go with what they send, but you might see some discrepancy.
You'll see differences all over. I mean, that happened with Peyton Moulter last week. I think the team had, and actually Chase Lemke as well. You know, the team has them for 1 or 2 more completions or 1 or 2 less completions, whatever it is, than some of the newspapers that you read. So it's always usually fairly close, but, you know, you just got to average it out, I guess.
When I keep stats, one, it's always stressful, right? Because I'm doing it while broadcasting and my head's like ready to explode.
Don't know how you and Franzak do it.
But I always check with someone at the half and then after the game. And we figure if we're within like 10 yards, hopefully 5 yards, then we did our job right. You get a little nervous when it's like a 30-yard discrepancy on what happened. Let's go back and figure it out. So it's never going to be an exact science. Maybe someday they will have like a neutral statistician at every high school game that keeps stats for both teams, but that's probably wishful thinking at this point.
Maybe everything will be electronic in the future. Like, you know, everybody will wear like something on their wrist or something. It'll track how many yards. Anyway, let's get to those stat leaders, huh?
Absolutely. We will begin with the top passers, the top passer across the entire WPIAL, and then several notable from Westmoreland County. Well, the top passer, he used to play in Westmoreland County. He's now at Gateway. It's Brad Birch, 17 of 24, 361 yards. He is back with a vengeance after missing a couple of games earlier this season. That was the most across the entire WPIAL. For the Norwin Knights, Tristan Tavares led all Westmoreland County passers, 13 of 32 for 289 yards in that tough loss for Norwin. John Wetzel of Greater Latrobe threw for 189 on 13 of 17. Chase Lemke, who we're going to hear from in a little bit, of Franklin Regional, 8 of 14 for 178. Carson Heinley of Kiski area went 14 of 30, 169 yards through the air, and 159 for Peyton Moulter on 10 of 18 passing for the Jeannette Jayhawks QB. The top rusher across the entire WPIAL happened to reside in Westmoreland County. It was the record setter, Tasso Whipple of Penn Trafford, 300 yards on the ground.
You can't lasso Tasso.
Absolutely. New school record, Tasso Whipple, to lead everyone in the WPIAL. Devin Beatty of Burrell goes for 151. Damari Robinson, one of two Derry area Trojans on the list. He ran for 117 yards in the victory. Noah Sanders of the Jeannette Jayhawks, 114. And Ahmad Ward, 113 yards on the ground, also representing the Derry area Trojans. And the top receiver, much like the top rusher, came from Westmoreland County. The top receiver did as well. Luke Denny for Norwin, 5 grabs, 192 yards. A terrific performance, although a touchdown not to be at the very end. Aiden Hudock of Franklin Regional, 6 grabs for 142 yards. Deton Williams, I talked about him for Greater Latrobe, 6 catches, 113 yards, if you like the Wildcats version of the stats. Jackson Pons of the Northern Knights, 8 grabs for 91 yards. And Kamani Brown of Jeannette, 85 yards receiving on 5 catches. That'll do it for the top performers, but we come back with the plays of the week, so do not go anywhere. And a little bit later on in Westmoreland on the Gridiron, we will have Lance Getsy, the head coach, and the star quarterback, Chase Lemke, both representing the Franklin Regional Panthers, as well as a look ahead with the Week 5 schedule. That's as we continue right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
I feel like it's definitely very important, like for high school, because a lot of kids, get peer pressured into drinking and doing drugs. So like doing the events like in a school setting, I feel like definitely like try to prevent kids from like going to like parties and drinking and driving and doing drugs and being peer pressured.
We just want to, talk about the dangers of the substance abuse in our community, and we want to help be a part of stopping that.
That's the power of Bowser. Yeah.
Coach, building a championship team, I know for you, it's all about the details. The same goes with the Bowsers.
No doubt about it. I mean, it's the tiny little details every single day, not forgetting about it the next day and maybe doing it the following day. I mean, I think details are everything.
As Coach says, get your eyes right on the power of Bowser.
The Bowser family is proud to have Coach Narduzzi as part of our team.
We continue here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron. And Flick, are you ready?
Am I ready for what, Sean?
Are you ready?
Am I ready for what, Sean?
Are you ready for plays of the week?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. All right, we got 6 plays to get to, so let's waste no more time. Hit the music. We'll begin with Penn Trafford. Well, you don't have to hit the music until I'm done reading this. Nonetheless, after failing to score a single point in their first two home games, the Warriors broke through, and they did so in a big way. And that began with John Wayne going into his bag of tricks with the creative play call. It was Tasso Whipple who was the beneficiary of a play that put Penn Trafford in the lead early in the first quarter, with myself and the incomparable Roger Downs on the call.
Hit the music.
This is a backwards pass, and it's going to be a throw down the field. It is caught by Whipple, and he cuts inside, and there goes Tasso Whipple on a 44-yard touchdown on a pass from Jack Weishar.
Well-designed play by the offensive staff of the Warriors.
The most important part, Roger, that first pass to Weishar was backwards, which allows him to then throw down the field.
And what about the catch by Whipple as well, Sean? Nice soft hands, left-footed Carl Heller in to attempt the extra point.
A few years ago, well, maybe it was more than a few years now I think about it, Tim Cortazzo, who owns FSQ Sports Training, FSQTraining.com. Yes, he sponsors. He's been sponsoring our broadcast for a long time. But before he had 2 children, he did some color commentary for us. He did a great job. And he nicknamed John Ruane, Riverboat Ruane, because of how many chances he takes, the onside kicks, the trick plays. We see another one right there with Weishar hitting, who else? Tasso Whipple. Weishar was kind of, he just took it and just flicked it, man. He was just kind of like, just got it out of there quickly. But it went right to him, and Penn Trafford, man, they're just known for those plays, aren't they?
Yeah, and they want to be known for calling and executing the plays, and that was a big one to get them some confidence. Again, that was their first home touchdown of the season after 2 straight shutouts.
No flags on the field. No flags.
Absolutely. That was a big one for the Warriors en route to the victory. Well, on the other side of it, for plays of the week, Hempfield area, and the Spartans didn't go quietly in that game. The defense stepped up big in the second quarter. It was Mitchell Bitar's pick 6 that pulled Hempfield back within striking distance, once again with myself and Roger detailing the scene.
So the penalty makes it a 1st and 20 on the Warriors.
As that is tipped and intercepted, Bitar has it, and he's trying to make a house call, and he will. About 35 yards on a tip interception, and Mitchell Bitar gets the Spartans right back in it. What a defensive play. But there is a flag, and we'll see. It could potentially be on the return. We'll have to see if the officials, as they sort this out. There's a sideline warning, so the touchdown is good. So Bitar makes a pick 6, second consecutive week that the Warriors have had a defensive touchdown scored against them, and we'll call it 39 yards. And now a chance to get within 4 if they can convert the extra point.
Yeah, originally we thought, well, at least Roger thought, that maybe it was off of a Penn Trafford lineman or receiver or something, but it was Lucas Moore who got his big paw up there to tip the pass, and then Bitar did the rest for a pick 6 touchdown and the 2-point conversion as well. So it became a 14-11 game at that point. Midway through the second quarter, Hempfield was right in it, Sean.
Yeah, certainly there was some tense moments there at Warrior Stadium, but ultimately it was one that the Warriors pulled out in the end. We continue plays of the week with Derry area, and Damari Robinson is one of 2 Trojans to surpass 100 yards rushing against Apollo Ridge, boosted by a couple of long touchdown runs. His second score was special, though, and it put the game away for Derry in the fourth quarter, with John Flickinger and Bob Lazinski providing the commentary.
The winner of the Tidalways Car Wash. We had several emailers tonight, so please keep doing it each and every week. We'll try to give one away. And here's Damari, and he runs into a tackler, and he stays on his feet. Damari Robinson's going to go. Touchdown, Trojans. Never left his feet, kept on churning. And Damari goes for 6, and the Trojans add to their lead.
38 yards for Amari. That puts him over 100 yards rushing with that long touchdown run he had earlier. But yeah, he just wasn't going to be denied, John. He broke out a tackle, and again, once he gets in the open, not too many people are going to catch him.
As we mentioned earlier in the show, Sean, Derry needs some other guys to step up, carry the ball, and carrying it for distance. Damari Robinson does right there to seal the game for the Trojans. And by the way, yes, the beginning of that play-by-play call, we do give away free car washes on our Derry football games. Shout out Rob Rockwell.
Did your brother enjoy his trip to historic Owens Field?
He didn't say anything bad about it, so I guess he did.
Maybe stopped at Nicky's Quick 6 afterwards?
I don't know what that is, Sean, but I'll Google it.
Yeah, the people in Apollo and Vandergrift certainly understand what I'm talking about. We'll continue plays of the week with Jeannette, and the Jayhawks wasted no time against Charleroi. They scored on their very first offensive play, a connection from Peyton Moulter to Kamani Brown. Brent Wiggin and Anthony D'Annunzio set the scene from McKee Stadium.
And he leads his troops out here for the first offensive possession. 6', 180-pound senior in the backfield now with Michael Mason on 1st and 10. Moulter looking to far side. Quick pass, quick catch. And Kamani Brown is running with it. Can he be stopped? No, he cannot. Touchdown, 38 yards. And Peyton Moulter continues that hot hand from last week.
Brett, that was just a simple little play out in the flat. Kamani Brown wide open. We talked about it pregame. Made some things happen last week. We said he was going to do more tonight, and first play, he makes it happen. So,
I talked with Jeannette coach Tom Pallone before the game for our pregame, and he said that one of the big things that Jeannette didn't do against Fraser, which is hard to believe because they won, was it 56-0 or something? They didn't get off to a good start, he said. They got off to a great start against Charleroi with that play to Kamani Brown.
Absolutely. Well, a team that got off to a great start and kept it up all night was Franklin Regional. The Panthers had a statement win against Shaler area, and it didn't take long for them to show their firepower. A long pass from Chase Lemke to Aiden Hudock got the party started in the first quarter, with Jonathan Whaley painting the picture.
And they're blitzing, and they're coming after him. He throws the ball down, looking up for Hype Hudock. Hudock makes the catch. 10-5, touchdown. 51-yard touchdown catch and run from Lemke to Mr. Electricity, and Franklin Regional gets the first score on the opening drive of the game. Hudock showing you why he's Mr. Electricity, and quite frankly, that was a nice throw by Chase Lemke against that blitz because they were coming with two blitzers. He stood in there, knew he was going to take a bump, and he threw the touchdown pass.
The man, Mr. Electricity, Aiden Hudock, and Chase Lemke, you'll hear from him coming up here in just a little while. He mentioned just how much of a security blanket it is to have Hudock running around out there. If you're in trouble, you just look for him and he'll go up and make a play for you.
I don't know that there's many players in the entire WPIAL who have more of a big play capability than him.
Oh my gosh. His yards per reception are ridiculous every game, every year.
Yeah, absolutely. Special player. We conclude plays of the week with Bell Vernon area, and although the Leopards ultimately came up short against Thomas Jefferson, it was an unlikely source who provided them with one of the biggest plays of that game. Cole Doppelhauer went nearly the length of the entire field for a house call in the first half, staking BVA to a 2-score lead with Dave Franzak and Brian Brzezinski on the call.
Handoff is going to go to the deep man and getting some space. He gets to the 15 to the 20. See you later. 30, 40, 50. 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Bell Vernon.
Wow, that's just a great job exploding through contact. Two tacklers came in and kind of just sandwiched him at the same time, and he was able to just literally accelerate and explode out of it. And after he saw green, you weren't catching him because, man, that second gear kicked in and able to hit a long one there.
Cole Doppelhauer takes it 93 yards for the Leopards, and another score for the Leps.
Yeah, and we talked about, the coaches making decisions to take downs away, and I think you can see why. You want to try to minimize how many times these snaps are taking place on Bell Vernon because they got some speed, they got some playmakers.
Cole Doppelhauer, you love to see it. The three-sport athlete, Sean. He's a heck of a wrestler, good baseball player, and comes up with a 93-yard touchdown right there. We've seen Cole do some things, not quite like that, but on special teams, and just one of those real good team players. Still kind of a younger player, but gets on the board there. And if Jake Jedico is out for any length of time, they're going to need Cole to do maybe not 93-yard touchdowns every game, but certainly do some more things than he's been used to.
Yeah, it's the first thing I thought of is maybe he gets an expanded role, and we have been so impressed by Anthony Cruz as well. Just find other guys to give the ball.
That catch he made, by the way, Bell Vernon's first touchdown.
Unreal.
I know we don't have it here on Plays of the Week, but it was unbelievable, one-handed, and wow.
Yeah, pretty special performance for the Leopards, and still not enough against Thomas Jefferson. That'll do it for Plays of the Week. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I will talk to the head coach of the Franklin Regional Panthers, Lance Getsy, after his team had a dominant win against Shaler area, handing the Titans their first loss of the season. That's upcoming next right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
Nothing performs like a Volkswagen, and nobody does Volkswagen like Sendell VW in Greensburg. Taos, Tiguan, Atlas, Jetta, and more. Sendell VW has tons of new inventory on the lot, with more arriving daily. Visit our showroom today or check out our easy-to-use Stop, Shop, and Roll online buying feature. Get your best deal on a great selection of new Volkswagen models at Sendell VW, Route 30 in Greensburg. SendellVW.com. We would love to meet you.
Play It Again Sports in Greensburg is your locally owned and operated sporting goods store. We set ourselves apart by offering a wide variety of both new and used equipment at competitive prices, located in the Greengate East Plaza below Walmart. Play It Again Sports' knowledgeable staff will help you and your family prepare for every athletic season. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or trade, we are here as your one-stop shop. At Play It Again Sports in Greensburg, everybody plays.
Welcome back to Westmoreland on the Gridiron. Sean Meyers now joined by the head coach of the Franklin Regional Panthers, Lance Getsy, after his team scored a lopsided victory, 55-7, against previously undefeated Shaler area. And first off, Coach, congratulations. That was a statement win, it felt like. Not only did you beat Shaler, but you really blew them out of the water, a team that had been terrific to this point of the season. Did the outcome even surprise you?
Yeah, of course, we didn't expect to have that lopsided of a victory, but we also knew that if we played our game and took care of the ball and didn't give up big plays, that we could play with anybody.
It's always interesting to see how teams approach a non-conference game after they've already opened conference play, which is what you did against Gateway the week before. Now, I know Shaler has obviously a great resume coming in, and there's probably some motivation to hand them their first loss. But how did you, and more importantly, how did the players approach that non-conference game?
Just like any other game, I think that kids only have 10 opportunities a year to play football that are guaranteed. Any extras has to be earned. So, anybody that's healthy plays. That's how I've always approached it, and that's how I'll continue to approach every non-conference game.
Was there a point in the game, a turning point, or even maybe a sequence where you kind of realized my team is locked in and this one could really turn out in our favor?
Yeah, I think offensively, having the ball 4 times in a row, scoring 4 times, a lot of positive plays on all 4 drives. And then, defensively, what I really liked was their first drive. We were misaligned. They got a big one on us and were able to score in a long play. And in weeks past, that turned into another one the next drive. But our defense really responded. They talked things out, communicated well, and were able to, handle them a lot better and not give up any more big plays.
Well, talking about your defense, very impressive that you're able to really keep their quarterback, Keegan Smetank, under wraps. He had been one of the most prolific passers in the entire district and has a lot of experience. What challenge is it for you and your defense to go against a quarterback like that, and how did your players respond to that challenge?
Well, is it another week? That's 2 weeks in a row that we play one of the top quarterbacks, and I think that the week before, we didn't respond as well in the second half to Gateway and how, they were throwing the ball on us. Even though I felt like we fought that game and it was a lot better than what the score indicated, but it's just a challenge. I think we challenge our kids to be able to, control the ball, ball security for sure with the turnovers, and not give up the big plays in the passing game. It's something we emphasized all week and we worked on all week. I even got out there to play a little bit of quarterback for our kids during that week in some passing situations. So they really worked, and it was a focal point all week.
How'd the shoulder hold up? Did you have to ice it down a bit afterwards?
No, the shoulder's usually okay. It's the foot that doesn't work that much.
Gotcha. So you talked about Gateway, and there's no doubt that was a big game, and that was kind of a statement win that your team had last year when you knocked off the Gators. They got a little bit of revenge with a terrific second half. How important was it for your team to bounce back and show their mental fortitude after that loss?
Our kids are very strong-willed and minded kids, but I think it was important just, to roll into a stretch of conference games with a big win. That Gateway game was disappointing. We felt like, we played a great game. We just had to control the ball, hold on to the ball. 4 turnovers can't happen week after week. And I think that has been something that we've been doing since week 0 against TJ. And we have to eliminate that. And we finally did this week. And then you see the results whenever you don't turn the ball over.
Well, let's talk about some of the players who have really come on as this season has gone along. I think offensively, Aiden Hudock is a guy who made a name for himself the last couple of years, but a new quarterback and a new primary running back, both of whom seemingly have gotten a lot better as the season has gone along, especially Chase Lemke. Seemed like he had somewhat of a breakthrough performance. How has he gotten better, and how has this offense improved?
Well, Chase, I think, needed game experience. It's different Friday nights under the lights against, quality teams like we've been playing. So he needed that experience. That's why I really wanted a week 0 game this year for him to get settled in. He's definitely grown into understanding the offense, what the offense is supposed to look like with the different motions, different formations, and really starting to be able to get our guys aligned and see what the defense is doing. And that takes time. And he's definitely a smart kid that's starting to get it.
Seems like Kyle DePill similarly has made some great strides, and he's put up some big numbers this year. What are his best attributes?
Kyle just sees the field. He has great vision. And I think his counterpart, Drew Gentile, has helped him with being able to, interchange whoever's fresh gets to go in there. It's almost like I even allow them to, dictate who's going to be in. I could call any play with either one, but what Kyle does is he always falls forward. He sees the hole, and he's just a tough kid to tackle.
I know that a lot of love and publicity goes towards the offensive players, the skill guys, but your defense, especially your linebackers, have gotten some attention. Owen Sinclair, and it seems like Austin Kearns is a guy who has really kind of emerged as one of the better defensive players in Westmoreland County. How strong has that group been, and what do you enjoy most about watching them?
Those two, there's their third year starting at linebacker, and you don't find that too often in high school football. And I think just understanding the defense, the schemes that we put in place week to week, and being able to get everybody up front lined. And I think they owe a lot of their success to what guys up in front are doing, holding off blocks, keeping guys off of them. But, they're really excelling, and I think they're just playing fast football. They're getting to the ball, and when they get there, they bring a load.
So now you get back to conference play after that big win against Shaler area, and you're going against Plum, a team that I think a lot of people expected would be very competitive this year, but they're coming off of a couple of tough losses, including a heartbreaker a couple weeks ago against Norwin. When you look at the Mustangs, what's the first thing that jumps out?
Their efforts, their fight. I think they get a lot of push. Those kids they like to hit. They're very physical. They have some speed. They have a little bit of everything that you have to watch. You can't just zone in on one thing. I think their quarterback's back again. I think he's a tough kid who could run the ball. He has a strong arm. They have some guys that could stretch the field, but their run game, their running back is a very strong runner.
Matt Morgan has been their coach for over a decade now, very accomplished, guiding Plum. While the faces might change from year to year, and I know they do return many key players from last year, is there anything particular about his system and his style of play that you notice year in and year out?
Just the physicality. I think he always has his kids prepared to play on Friday nights. They all, I guess Franklin Regional and Plum has been a rivalry for years and years. So I think those guys are always ready to play. You could throw the records out. Those teams go to battle every year. Even when Coach Wada was here, it's always a game.
Yeah, I could speak to that firsthand. A 2003 graduate of Plum, and I remember the big games against Franklin Regional during my time there as well. Biggest keys to have success against the Mustangs?
Ball security. Don't give up the big plays. Those are the keys. We have got to control that ball, hold on to it, always fall forward. I think first down is always a big play for us offensively, making sure that we get positive yards to put us in good position to move the sticks. And defensively, we have got to keep them from making big plays. They have some explosive players. So if we could keep them and make them have to take long drives, I think we'll be okay.
Of course, I know every coach and every team has to approach the game as though the one in front of you is the only one that really matters. But I think it's pretty clear that with only 2 spots in the postseason guaranteed, that your team's going to have to make a run now with 4 conference games remaining. Is it fair to say that every single game you have to play as though your playoff lives depend on it from here on out?
Yeah, we talked about that today in the locker room. This is a playoff week. Every game is a playoff game. So that's how we're approaching every game and every practice to prepare. And I liked our preparation last week. I think our kids saw the results from preparing that way, and hopefully we can continue that.
Lastly, I know 2022 was a pretty special year because you got that conference title. You got back to the playoffs. I know we're only halfway through this season, but what is special about this year's team in your eyes?
It's just, I guess, the family atmosphere that we have with the kids. I think these kids work so hard, and just it's fun being around them. I think on the practice field today just was a learning day. We did a little bit of work on the field, but when we come together, those kids are working and having fun, and the coaches love interacting with them, and that's what's special to me.
Well, Lance, hopefully you have some fun on Friday night and for the rest of the season as well. Thank you so much for doing this.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate it.
That is Lance Getsy, the head coach of the Franklin Regional Panthers. We'll take a quick break and continue right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
Why the 2023 Kia Sportage plug-in hybrid? It's roomy, it's fuel efficient, it's peppy. It comes with so many extra options. And right now at Smale Kia, get $500 off MSRP plus a level 2 charging cord. So the real question is, why not? Get $500 off MSRP on any new Smale Kia and a level 2 charge cord with all 2023 Kia plug-in hybrids and EV models. And they come with Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty at Smale Kia.
D'Annunzio's Italian Restaurants is open 7 days a week at all 3 of our locations, Jeannette, Monroeville, and Latrobe. We invite you to join us for our specials. Monday, the special is spaghetti. Tuesday, it's raviolis. Wednesday, it's lasagna. And Thursday, it's chicken parmesan or chicken romano. Be sure to try our drink specials and our fabulous desserts. And remember, we also have takeout available at all 3 locations.
Welcome back to Westmoreland on the Gridiron. Sean and Dan talking Westmoreland County High School football every Wednesday at 7. And we want to thank Lance Getsy taking the time. I really enjoyed talking to him. And sometimes he's not the most talkative guy, but the job that he has done with that program, again, he's replacing a legend, and that is not easy in its own right. And he's gotten them back to prominence the last 2 years. I think that right now they are proving that 2022 was not a fluke, and he's got to deserve a lot of credit because other than Hudok, they've replaced a lot of those key components from last year's team, like Roman Sarnik.
Yeah, and they played Gateway tough. I know last year they beat them. This year they couldn't quite get the job done, but it was a close game until the Gators pulled away. So not only, Sean, you mentioned him replacing a legend in Greg Botta, but he was also tasked with kind of, I don't want to say turning around the program. It wasn't in that bad of shape, certainly.
Right.
But it had some mediocre seasons. There's an expectation of Franklin Regional that they should be competing for conference championships, and they won one last year. And this year, hey, if someone knocks off Gateway, who knows? So certainly competing for playoffs at the very least for FR, that's an expectation. And you're right. He's done a really, really good job of doing that, breaking in a new quarterback, a new running back this year, which is very difficult, especially considering their schedule. So he's done a really nice job.
And how about, I believe it was Bill Beckner who wrote a story about their defensive lineman, Jude Gentili, who's 150 pounds. And that usually does not play along the defensive line, but he is using some speed. He's lining up inside as well. So he's going against centers and guards and is able to use his speed and his, I guess, elusiveness
at the high school level. You can do that, man. You can slip off the block. I'm telling you, it's a lot of people probably won't believe this, but like 100 pounds ago, I was a fullback and nose guard in high school. I was about 190, not 150 though. And you can though, like at this level, you can use your speed and agility. I know me and agility, right? Yeah, okay. But you can do that to get by blocks and create some havoc up there. So I didn't mean to tie that into me. But
you were Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald even came to be.
I was going to say I look more like Aaron Donald now than I did back then. But anyway,
well, we talked
about this voting, huh?
Yeah, we talked to Coach Getsy, and we're going to talk to his starting quarterback, Chase Lemke, as well. And the reason is because the Franklin Regional fans made it be.
They did. They voted Chase as the player of the week, and really just a cool story. Really good kid, has a good head on his shoulders, good leader, great baseball player. But he got off to a little bit of a slow start this year. First year ever as a starting quarterback at the varsity level.
And he started against Thomas Jefferson.
Against Thomas Jefferson, yeah, and you'll hear us talk about that. But 8 of 14, 178 yards, 2 touchdowns for Chase, as we mentioned earlier. Also had 2 on the ground for the victory for the Panthers over Shaler. But we also want to congratulate our other nominees. You just saw one in Plays of the Week. Kaimani Brown, 5 catches for 85 yards and those 3 touchdowns. Luke Denny, the massive game he had, 192 yards receiving, plus a couple of scores. And Johnny Wetzel, who has been a frequent nominee, just continues to put up some really good numbers for Latrobe, 159 yards to the air and 4 total touchdowns. We had over 3,000 votes for our 4 nominees this week. Chase Lemke wins, and we'll see if any of these guys will be nominated next week.
And by the way, some fans might be wondering, well, what the heck? Tasso Whipple ran for 300 yards, but he was not eligible.
Yes. He was also not eligible for the Dom's Pizzeria player of the game because we had already given that to him. So, yes, Tasso 100% would have been nominated if it was not for the fact that he had won already. So, for anyone wondering out there, why isn't Tasso not? That's why. But, I think we've talked about his 300-yard game. And hey, if you did miss the interview we had with him a couple of weeks ago, you can check it out on our YouTube channel.
Absolutely. And soon enough, you'll be able to check out Chase Lemke on our YouTube channel as well. But for now, stick around because the interview with the star quarterback for the Panthers upcoming next as we continue right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
State Representative Mike Reese was a great advocate for the kids in our community. He felt athletics were a vital tool in raising healthy, happy kids. The Mike Reese Memorial Fund offers grants to local youth athletic organizations so that every kid has a chance to play. Funding is available for new equipment, registration fee offset, facility improvements, and more. Visit MikeReeseMemorialFund.com to apply.
Welcome back to Westmoreland on the Gridiron. It is time to talk with our Week 4 Westmoreland Sports Network Player of the Week. He is Chase Lemke of the Franklin Regional Panthers. The junior completed 8 of 14 passes last week for 178 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, 2 on the ground, and a very impressive blowout victory of the Shaler Titans for the Franklin Regional Panthers. Chase, thank you so much for joining us here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. And we have a lot to get into. Shaler comes into this game 4-0. You guys absolutely whooped them. Was it a case of really good practice this week or 2 weeks ago? What allowed you guys to have such a convincing victory over an undefeated team coming into Panther Stadium?
It was really, setting the tone, getting started early, out physical, and, getting both the passing and running game going with all my weapons, my offensive line, Aiden Hudock, Kyle DuPill, all those guys, getting them involved early, and didn't struggle very much and led to a nice victory that we needed.
You played some really good teams so far, Thomas Jefferson, Gateway, and now Shaler, but knowing that Shaler was undefeated, I mean, did you feel a little more excitement trying to prove that Franklin Regional is a pretty good team too coming into this game?
We did, and remembering what happened last year, we couldn't have that happen again. The double OT loss, it really just stuck in our hearts, and we came out flying and needed that win for the program.
Yeah, that was a heck of a game last year, so a little chip on your shoulder, I'm sure, as well. Do you feel that this was your best game personally as a starting quarterback?
I do, because came with limiting turnovers and controlling the ball on offense, and obviously the defense provided some points for me too. Austin Kearns had a fumble recovery for a touchdown, and we had an interception for a touchdown at the end of the game there. So all around, we just played a good game.
And when you see the defense doing that, that gives the offense a spark too, right? Like, hey, we got to keep up.
It does, yeah, of course.
Now, you had 2 touchdowns through the air, 2 touchdowns on the ground, as I mentioned, and normally when we interview our player of the week, something that I like to do is kind of say, like, what touchdown did you enjoy the most? What stuck out to you about a specific score, maybe the most? And can you kind of take us through it? So out of those 4, which one did you like the most? And can you kind of take us through the play?
I'm going to have to say the first one, setting the tone early. You got the ball first, just punching it right down their throats right from the beginning. It really set the tone. And, we started running the ball early. First couple plays, ran the ball, and then we hit them over the top. One-on-one coverage. Aiden Hudock, obviously, he's going to make a play for me. So found him in open area, and he made a defender miss and punched it in for 6.
I want to talk about Aiden in a moment, but defensively, I know you don't get every snap. You don't play every snap on defense, but you do get some time over there. So defensively, you guys went up against a really good quarterback in Keegan Smetanka, and you didn't let him hurt you, certainly. What was the key on that side of the ball, do you think?
I think it was not letting up the deep ball because, as you said, he's been red hot coming into the game, over 1,000 yards passing, something like that, 18 touchdowns. I think the deep ball, not letting it up, really helped our offense and our defense kind of settle into the game and the environment.
You began the year with a really stiff challenge in Thomas Jefferson. We just saw they beat Bell Vernon. I mean, what a team TJ has this year. That was your first varsity start in week 0. So certainly a tough challenge for you. But what specifically have you learned? What has maybe become easier for you since that week 0 start? And then looking at the start against Shaler?
I think just becoming more comfortable in the pocket, knowing my progressions and how to go through them and making the right read. And that also came with, coaching over time. Obviously, my coach Getsy, him being the head coach and offensive coordinator, obviously helps that out in a big way. And I think just the offensive line really settled in and we're limiting turnovers, which is a big help.
Yeah. Do you feel more comfortable and confident, now that you've had a lot of snaps as varsity starter?
I do, especially coming off last game. I felt real confident right from the start. I knew that we could have a big game if we limited turnovers.
Now, you mentioned Aiden Hudock earlier, 6 catches, 142 yards. You mentioned that touchdown. How much easier does it make your job that if you need a big play, you can go to him at any time? How much easier does that make playing quarterback?
Makes it a lot easier, especially since he finds those open holes, and I know he'll always be a guy who will be there in the right spot at the right time. Big moments, he'll come in clutch for me, and that really helps me out as a first-year starter.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Roman Sarnik and Aiden obviously have that great connection, but it didn't seem like it took you guys too long to form a connection yourselves coming into this year. I mean, you've been putting up the numbers. He's been putting up the numbers. Seems like he put those numbers up right away. Would you kind of agree with that? It didn't take you guys very long?
I agree. We've had a bond over the last couple of years, and I think it just got a lot stronger this year. Him knowing that I was going to be the starter, and in practice we've connected a lot, and just overall on and off the field we've really connected and formed a bond that really helps during the games especially.
Talk a little about Kyle Dupill, who has had a really, really good season running the football. I'm sure that takes a little bit of pressure off you as well, right?
Yeah, him and Jude Gentilius fullback. I mean, it really helps having a run game that will affect the passing game later in the game, if not early in the game, knowing that they'll come out and run the ball hard. And our run game has been real solid. The line has helped that a lot.
Talking to our Week 4 Westmoreland Sports Network Player of the Week, Chase Lemke. Chase, I know this is a tough question for you to answer, but I got to ask it to you. You're a heck of a baseball player as well. As a matter of fact, last time we talked to you on the air, I think it was a couple of summers ago after you guys won the state Junior Legion championship with Coach Sadler there. So would you like to play a sport in college? I know you still have some time to kind of, make that decision. And would you be leaning towards baseball or football? Can you kind of let us in on what you might be thinking?
It's tough. I'm looking at my options still, but I enjoy baseball and football a lot, but I'm leaning more towards the baseball side of things. No offense, Coach, but baseball is my passion. But I obviously, when it comes to football season, I'm ready to go and ready to study the film and put all the work in that's needed.
Yep, you're focused on football now, and Coach Sadler will get you once it's over.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure it'll be an exciting year. We'll talk more Franklin Regional baseball when we get closer to it, Chase. What is your favorite part about playing for this team right now?
I think it's honestly just the bond that we all have. I mean, we've been playing most of these kids, and including me, have been playing together since, back in the midget days, and we've all had this bond since then, and it's just grown and grown and grown, and it's just amazing. I mean, playing with these guys is really fun on and off the field.
And I know you can only control your own destiny right now. A tough loss to Gateway, but anything can happen in this conference. So what's kind of your focus in terms of goals right now as we sit here?
It's focused on Plum, what they have to bring on defense and on offense, more the defense part for me since I'm a quarterback. And just we got to play more physical than them. They're obviously going to come out physical. It's a rivalry matchup, and we just got to put the work in practice and be ready for the game on Friday.
Yeah, I was going to ask you my final question to you here, Chase. Like, what do you kind of expect from Plum? Like, what have you seen from them on film that they like to do on defense? What do you guys have to do well on offense?
They really like dropping a lot of guys back in coverage, which I think is smart of them. But I think we could find holes that open up, and we can hit some passes here and there. And obviously, the run game's going to have to come out strong.
Well, Chase, get another victory on Friday against Plum. I know it's a big one, a conference game. Congratulations on winning Player of the Week. You're only a junior, so hopefully we'll do this again soon, all right?
Yep, sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. That is Chase Lemke, our Week 4 Westmoreland Sports Network Player of the Week. Coming up, we will preview Franklin Regional and Plum and all the games in Week 5 right after these messages on Westmoreland on the Gridiron.
The Collision Shop by Jason Mignone is your one-stop shop for all things auto body repair. Our experienced technicians and state-of-the-art facilities have you covered on both passenger and heavy-duty vehicle repairs, including scratches, scrapes, and dents, free estimates, body repairs, welding, refinishing, glass replacement, and more. Our all-new alignment and calibration shop has the tooling, equipment, and staffing to ensure top-quality alignment and calibration adjustments for your vehicle. Our friendly office staff is more than happy to assist you through every step of your vehicle's repair process. Visit the Collision Shop by Jason.com for our complete list of services.
We roll along here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron, and we thank Chase Lemke, the quarterback for Franklin Regional, on this Panthers heavy show. We already heard from his head coach, Lance Getsy, and I know you enjoyed talking to Chase, so we appreciate him taking the time. I know anytime that we have to get coaches or players, they are very busy because you never have a lot of free time during football season, so their time is valuable. We appreciate them making the effort to join us.
And I thought he had a great answer. So something that and maybe you do too, Sean, if a student athlete is a multi-sport athlete, we'll ask him, what sport he likes best, or maybe what sport he's leaning towards playing in college. And Chase was honest about it. He said baseball, is my true passion, but he answered it great because he quickly said, but all my focus right now is on football, helping my team win, being with my teammates. He said watching film. So he answered it perfectly. And so kudos to Chase for that answer.
Absolutely. So congrats once again to Chase Lemke. Let's wrap this show up with a look ahead, Week 5. And this is significant because if I'm correct, which usually I am, maybe I should double check this. Nonetheless,
Usually?
I think all of our Westmoreland County teams are playing conference games this week. So it's really now into the part of the season where every game truly is meaningful. And so not to say that non-conference is not, but really these games start counting towards the playoffs. And we've got some good ones here on WSN. We'll begin with Penn Trafford at Norwin. You can watch that one. Warriors looking to go to 2-0 in the conference, as are the Norwin Knights. Norwin coming off of that loss non-conference again, Woodland Hills. PT trying to make it 2 in a row after they knocked off Hempfield area. I think heading into the season, not many people would have thought that this could turn out to be a very competitive game. Now, I think Norwin's got a legitimate shot against PT.
I 100% agree with that. I mean, you look back at last week, I don't know that we thought that Penn Trafford and Hempfield would be close as it was. And before PT pulled away, it was. So I think this will be a really, really good game. Obviously, I'm really excited to see Tristan Tavares. I have not seen him yet this year. Him going up against, the Penn Trafford defense certainly will be interesting. And can PT continue to run the ball consistently? And again, throw the ball if they need to.
And if Norwin gets behind, we know that they can come back. If Penn Trafford gets behind by a couple scores, Can they come back with their offense?
Point. Yep, that's a good point.
So that will be an interesting dynamic to follow in that game. Derry area tries to keep up their winning ways as they welcome Sarah Catholic. You can watch that one as well. And you can also watch Greensburg Central Catholic at Clairton as the Bears trying to make sure that they are still the team to beat in the Class 1A Eastern Conference. GCC's got a couple of special players, though. Very excited to see both Tyree Turner and Samir Crosby, see if they can work their magic.
Yeah, and we're really, really excited, Sean, to be doing that game. When we scheduled it, I thought back and said, wait a second. I think Sean Meyers and Jack Ridenauer went to Clairton last time Greensburg Central Catholic played out there, and you guys did. So I think it should be, it's a very, very important game for the conference. And, anytime that anybody plays Clairton, it's a big game.
And keep in mind, the Bears are going to have some motivation. They lost to GCC last year. It was the Centurions who went undefeated in the conference and won the conference. So I know that the Bears certainly wanted to get their backs after last year. A couple other games that we will have on the network. Franklin Regional at Plum. The Mustangs lopsided loss against Gateway last week. They will look to bounce back. Panthers look to keep it up after they had that big win against Shaler area. And Riverview at Jeannette. Mentioned that we'll see when they go against the best competition in the conference if Jeannette really is back to its old ways. Although the Raiders have been pretty impressive. They can run the football, so that will be a test for Coach Pallone and crew to try to slow down the rushing attack of Riverview in that one. I think that they are a little one-dimensional, so I don't think you have to defend the pass too much if you're Jeannette, but certainly you'll have to slow down the ground game. Hempfield area has the unenviable task of going to Monroeville to play at Gateway. That's a Gators team that after dropping 3 straight is absolutely humming offensively as of late. Brad Birch, of course, leading the way. Trinity at Greater Latrobe. I talked to Coach Prady about this one. He thinks it's going to be a very physical, competitive game. The Hillers have a dynamic dual-threat quarterback in Jonah Williamson. How about this? He had a game against Connellsville this season. He threw for over 200 yards. He rushed for over 200 yards in the same game. That's incredible. He is going to be an absolute handful for guys like Alex Tatch and John Wetzel to try to contain for Greater Latrobe. That's a big game as well, knowing that probably TJ and McKeesport are going to be kind of locks to make the playoffs. You have 4 teams maybe fighting for 2 spots, and Trinity and Greater Latrobe are certainly 2 of them. Kiski area at Indiana. Mount Pleasant area at Greensburg-Salem. Vikings are playing some good football recently. Greensburg-Salem, we mentioned possibly injury woes on top of some growing pains for Coach George and his crew here in 2023. Bell Vernon area looks to bounce back, and they will be well positioned to do so as they open their conference at South Allegheny. This one, I think, will be an interesting contest. Southmoreland at Elizabeth Forward. We saw EF last year. They did lose a lot, including their head coach, Mike Colodi, who's doing good things now. Keep in mind, EF's current head coach was an assistant at Southmoreland, so you have that connection. I also think you have a team in Southmoreland who has something to prove, because a couple of weeks ago, we thought this might be a special year for the Scotties. Now you have to wonder, Craigett hasn't really been able to get on track recently, and the offense, by and large, has kind of been held under wraps.
Yeah, I think I mentioned on the show, and you probably did too, that we thought Southmoreland was in a prime position to, be the first team behind Bell Vernon in the conference. And now, you just don't know. They have to go out and prove it for sure at this point, with the way that they have shown some kind of some cracks in the last few weeks. We'll see what they do. I think this is a really interesting game. I think it's a gut check game for Southmoreland to kind of show what they are capable of again. And we'll see if they're able to do it against the Warriors.
Yeah, and again, these are conference games, so it really does have major significance for the Scotties and for the Warriors.
I know, Sean, you're upset you're not going to Elizabeth Forward, by the way. If people don't know, the spread there is unbelievable. Sean doesn't eat, actually, but I'm upset because the spread there is unreal. It's like going to a graduation party.
I nibbled on something, I'm sure,
cookies,
last
probably.
year. Yeah, that
cookies,
sounds about right. That is top-notch, by the way.
I mean... pasta, chicken, nacho. Just like anything you can think of. It's unbelievable. And the people are very nice there too.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a reason why that venue hosted some WPAL championships. I think they used to be the home for soccer championships not that long ago. Also around Westmoreland County, East Allegheny at Valley. Yawk at Ligonier Valley. And again, this is another Westmoreland County matchup that has a lot on the line for these two teams that are still kind of trying to prove that they belong in the playoff conversation in Class 2A. How about Amani Christian at Burrell? Amani, the Saints have some incredible skill guys. They've got 2 or 3 slam dunk Power 5 players in the future. And David Davis is one of them. Deshaun Burnett, I believe, is another. Amani Christian has seemingly all the talent in the world. It's just a matter of if they can put it together. And Burrow, I think it's going to be a clash of styles because we know the Buccaneers are unique. I don't think there's any team in the WPIAL that runs offense like Coach Liotta. So that will be a very interesting game to watch unfold.
Well, I would have to say that Burrow has to play ball control, but that's what they're going to do anyway. So I don't know. Can they stay in the game if they can grind some long drives and Devin Beatty do his thing? Maybe they can.
Absolutely. Also, Monessen at West Green to round out the high school ledger, and then a couple of college games. Gannon at Seton Hill, 4 o'clock Saturday. We will be there at Offutt Field for that contest, and we're looking forward to it. We got a busy Seton Hill day on Saturday. We're going to have some soccer preceding that one as well. And then I should clarify, I did make a mistake last week, Flick. I know it's rare. I said last week St. Vincent was playing at Geneva at 7. It was a bye for the Bearcats last week. They did not play this week.
Bye.
Yes. I love NSYNC, by the way. Are they back yet? Is that official?
I don't know. It's heard rumors. I don't know. Is Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce together? I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah. You sound like every sports talk host now talking about that. Nonetheless,
I can't believe I mentioned that. Goodbye, Sean.
St. Vincent is in action at Geneva on Saturday. Anything else you want to highlight before we put a bow on this show?
Did I mention Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift already?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, my gosh. Hey, yeah, I do want to give a massive shout out. We try to as much as we possibly can to Ken Reeby from Western PA Sports. He was at Franklin Regional last Friday, has a full photo gallery on their website. If you'd like to go on there, you can purchase photos, and they are 100% quality. I mean, they are unbelievable. And we have a partnership with them. Many of the pictures you see on our website are from Ken. He takes pictures at our preseason football show, our preseason wrestling show as well. So please do give them a follow on Twitter at Westmoreland SN. That's not right. At Western PA Sports.
You can follow both of those accounts though, right?
Or X. Yeah, you can follow us as well. Or just go to the website, westernpasports.com, and you can check out photo galleries from this season, from past seasons, and you can purchase photos. He does an outstanding job, and we're really happy to partner with him.
Absolutely. And again, I know I note this every week, but don't just tune into our high school football broadcast on Fridays, and don't just tune into this show every Wednesday. Check out the website every day. We've got some great articles. Westmoreland alum Q&A featuring Zach Cernuto of Southmoreland this week. What a great story he is. High school quarterback who's now a tight end at W&J, who also runs the football and scores a ton of touchdowns. He's, you know what they would say he is? He's a football player.
He's a football player.
Absolutely. You can read about that. We also have plenty of other athletes that we feature on that. Of course, every Friday, we have the preview of all 18 Westmoreland County teams that are in action, so you can get ready for all the night's contest.
Sean's fingers hurt after he prepares that preview every week.
Yeah, I go in saying, I'm going to keep this one a little bit shorter, and then it's like 4,500 words or something obscene. A lot of reading that if you have 45 minutes to kill, you can do that, reading that article every Friday. And of course, we have all this other great content, including a lot of soccer and volleyball throughout the fall as well. But for now, we will say thanks so much for tuning in. And of course, you know where to catch us each and every Wednesday, 7 p.m. It's right here on Westmoreland on the Gridiron. But for now, we'll say thanks once again for Dan Flickinger. I'm Sean Meyers. You have been tuning in to Westmoreland on the Gridiron right here on the Westmoreland Sports Network.
Good night.